Okay. I heard recently a shiur from somebody that has a lot of shiurim on YouTube, somebody very famous. I'm not going to say name because I don't want to get into bashing people's opinions and what rulings. So I'm talking about the substance, what he said and what I think it was wrong. So he said the name of his Rebbe, which was a Godol Israel. He said that what the people have a minhag to by the chossan, that they come under the chuppah, they open up all the ties, all the knots. There's no necktie, there's no shoelaces that have a knot on them, and the mamash, the person come. The minhag is by many big portion of Klal Yisrael that they don't have anything in their pocket, no money, no silver, no gold, nothing. The pockets are all empty, and there's no ties or knots. They're free of tie or knots. That's how the chossan go under the chuppah. So this person said from the name of his Rebbe, which is already in Elam Emes, like I said, it was a Godel B'Yisrael, that that's this whole minhag is he says it's a shtus. Not only it's a shtus, it's you probably he says that probably has as isur of loisanachashu. People do with superstitious stuff, loisanachashu. So that says people should not do that. There's no makor for this minhag. That's what he quoted from his Rebbe, and then he brought a ma'aseh that was a chossan that his parents told him that they want him to do under the chuppah to go like this minhag without any necktie, without any knots and ties, and so he asked that his Rebbe that Godel B'Yisrael, what should he do, because the parents asking him to go under the chuppah with that minhag, and he says since they're asking you, you could do it, but have in mind that it's meaningless. This way you're not over l'sanachashu. You're doing it because they told you, but it's meaningless. So like this, I think such an approach to belittle Minhagei Israel because maybe he was not knowing like this, or his community was not. I think this is exactly where the problem was by Talmid Rabbi Akiva. L'nahago covered zebazeh. It's very easy to bash someone else's minhag, someone else's opinion, rather than looking into it, where the minhag coming from. Maybe there is a makor for it, looking in sources. Now, so there is a big makor for that. It's brought in Tame Minhagim. He brings from Sefer Mavar Yaboik. He brings like this. In Ois Tov Reish Chof Aleph. Tam leminhag she'en oisim kshorim betachriche hameisim v'chen ba'avneito. He talks about mace. Mace, the same thing. We don't put any by the mace the way they put tachrichim. There's no knots and ties over there. Ki moira bitochen hatchia, meaning he believes in tchias hameisim, meaning it's all going to be loose and ready, fast to get up. He believes that. Again, the details of it exactly have to look in the origin. I didn't look, but it says by the chossan, one of the reasons we put on him kittel, a white kittel, under the chuppah to remind him Yom HaMisa, to remind him that it's such a happy occasion, he might be over joyous and so don't listen. Remember the Yom HaMisa, come more to this event, a big event, a milestone in your life, with humility, reminding Yom HaMisa. So according to this, that's one of the reasons why he doesn't have any ties and knots and no money in his pockets to show him Yom HaMisa. You're going to go away from here without anything, with a white clothing and without ties and knots and without, you cannot take no money with you. So that's one minute. That's one reason why the chossan goes to the chasana under the chuppah like this. There's another reason. It says in Sefer Devorim, it says like this. I'm reading from chapter Chavdalet, Pasuk Hey, the 5th pasuk. It says like this. At Parshas Kisaitza, Ki yikach ish isha chadosho, when a person marries a new wife, lo yetza batzova, he should not go to the army, but lo yavar olav l'chol dover, he should not do anything nokia leveiso, he should pay attention, spend time in his house with his wife, shono echos. 1 year he should be with his wife, spend more time with her rather going to business affairs and going to the army. V'simach es ishto asher lokach. He should make her happy. Then the next pasuk Vov, lo yachbol rechayim v'rochev ki nefesh hu choyvel. Then he says, according to Rashi, the Pashtus, it goes, if you lend money to somebody and you want to take collateral, mashkan, don't take rechayim v'rechav, don't take something that the way they would do the bread, grind the grain, make the flour. If this is oichel nefesh, if you take this away, how is going to make his food? That's a Pashtus. However, the Yonasan ben Uziel, he brings, same thing the Yerushalmi brings this. It's like this. Lo yimashken gvar rechaya v'richvo arum tzorchei devon misav mozon l'chol nafshehu b'mashken. That's one pirush apostle who brings, like Rashi brought. Pirush apostle. Don't take collateral when somebody owes you money, think that he's going to do oichel nefesh. Then he says, in this pasuk, he said, there's another hint for a different thing. V'lo yegvar asar chasanin v'kalin b'charshin. A person should not go, when he goes to the chasana, some people used to do a kishuf, they used to like lock the door in front of chosin kala, arum nafsha de osid lemefak minon hu mechabel. They used to do something, should be a problem with their relationship, should be no children. They used to do a kishuf. And then there is a pirush to Yonasan. He brings like this. V'lo yegvar osar chasanin v'gavos osar, he says pirush, lo yekoisher Chassanim v'kalas b'kishuf. It's brought in Sfarim that they used to do kishuf through kesher, through making nuts, and the kishuf would be in that nut. It has a Sfarat sources in the Gemara too. The Gemara talks about this also, that how they used to do kishuf in through the nuts. He says, so that's the pirush over here in the pasuk of Yagbal Rechaim V'Rechev. A person should not do kishuf to people that getting married. That's the pshat. V'dorshu smach laposuk. The little minute. Hikach isha chadosho v'simach is isha lokach dainu mitzvahs oino. Should have a relationship with his wife. V'somich le'yarbol l'rechaim v'rechem l'lamad azhore shelo yimnas anosu v'masek shofim. This mechashev should not do something to prevent them from getting together. Shelo yichal lova kederech anoshim v'dibra Torah b'loshan nekiya. The Torah written over here, hinting this in a very nice way. Shelo yikshar harechayim. Don't make a knot on the rechayim where you grind. That's remez leisha v'rechev. Remez leish. That's the upper part of the rechayim. Yeah, and he goes onward. But then he goes like this. V'yan ki oven plilihu rogil b'doros alolo. Again, I'm not sure to which generations he talks. It used to be, looks like in some generation, that kishuv was very popular. People used to go to the chasana, make kishuv to chasana and kala. They should not have children. He brings to the Yerushalmi. Called the Ovad Ilen Kekofar B'chayei Almo. Anybody does that is mamish kofer in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Pirush. Rosha Oise Ele. Somebody that does that kishuv, preventing children from chosan v'kala, and lo kapora elamis. He's not going to have ever kapora for what he did. Ve'en lo chelek lamabo. Lefi shekofar boy bazeh. With that you kofar b'Hashem. And the reason for it, he says, why it's a kofar b'ikar? It's bad. He's hurting somebody. He's hurting chosan v'kala. Why it's so bad? Kofar b'ikar v'atam keman de'osar chasanim. Again, he's tying their mazel. He's tying. Making a knot over there that they should prevent them from having children. Kofar b'vias HaMashiach shenika gamken chay almo. U'bias HaMashiach tolui b'kilo eneshama shebaguf v'do'amru Rabbi Sen yivomes daf samach beis. And ben David bo'at shichol kol eneshama shebaguf. Memela, by you preventing somebody having children, you're stopping bias HaMashiach. Memela, it's a ma'akeh b'geula. Memela, en l'chelang abab. But then you bring a story. I want to bring this story anyway, just to see how this minhag has a strong makor, and I'm going to explain now why the chosim doesn't go with the nuts, because there was such an inyanim in the past, and that's why he kept this minhag from. He brings a ma'aseh Sefer Charedim, and he says over there, V'shomati, that the Sefer Charedim writes, V'shomati mipi Chacham Echad, Rabbi Vadia ben Rabbi Zechariah. Shemaisa ba'odom Echad, there was a Maisa, Shekoshar Yehudi Echad. He did this kishuf to another person. He went to his chuppah, he did a kishuf. V'nichras b'soch shnot. That year, that person died. And before he died, nobody knew what was his aveira. He knew it himself. Rak harosha hazeh gid b'shas mitosei. this Russia, before he died, he says, Kasharti es ploini Chossan. He says the name. This Chossan, they had a Chasna this year. I made a kishuf. I put a knot. I tied the meaning he should not be able to have children. Vine lifnei. Vine lefona. He says, in front of me right now, Malach Hamoves v'charba shlufa b'yod. There's a Malach Hamoves with his sword standing in front of me. He says, Omer Lisha, Omer Nazek Goram Misosi. He tells me that's why you're dying now, because you did this Avera, tying this man shouldn't have children. V'gam Eli Chilal Kam Haba. He says, also I lost my children. Umiyad Porchon Nishmose. At Kan Lashon of Sefer Charedim. So he brings that Maisa, Givaldik Maisa, and that's another reason why I became a Minhag Yisrael by Chossanim. And Kalos, they have no knots, no ties, because if there is Chaz v'Sholom, somebody wants to make a kishuf, you're preventing it by having no knot, because the kishuf go through that knot. That's what's called kesher. That's what the Illuminati calls it. He says, "V'lo yigvar asar." Asar is making a kesher, making a knot. Okay, so that's the Yerushalmi. That's Yonasan ben Uziel. It's a big makor for it. Now, to say that this over Allah Sanachashu. First of all, and I have a sefer, a very nice sefer. It's called Shulchan Aruch. So when I want to know halacha, I look at that sefer. Yeah, I don't know why people are looking in that's a sefer. In Yeredeh, Kuf Ayin Tes, and it says in Tur and Shulchan Aruch talks about all halachas of Menachash and Mu'oinen. Such a thing is not mentioned once in any poskim which is available to me. I didn't see anything in Adarab. What I find on Makor, the opposite. What the minhag is a very good minhag. Why? Because over there it talks about we should not make timing, Lamashal. Mo'oinen, it's timing. I'm not going to go to work at this hour. It's not a lucky hour. I'm not going to go to work, not going to get this project. It's not lucky. So that's called Mo'oinen. We're not allowed to do that. However, we know, I already spoke about in previous shiurim, we know that we have many oines by the Jews who do have inyan of mazel dikasho. We start certain things on Rosh Chodesh, some learning. We don't start some project Monday and Wednesday. We say Chodesh Oder is a lucky month. That's brought in Magen Avraham. So if you have a din with a goy, take him to court and Oder if you can. It's a lucky. And it says in Shulchan Aruch, don't go to a court with a goy. If you have a court case, try to postpone it because it's not a lucky month, and so on and so forth. The chasna is better to do beginning of the month till the middle of the month because milei halavana would do have such a timing. So what's the halacha of Mo'oina? Don't make timing. So here is what the Beis Yosef brings the Ramban. B'tshuva la Ramban. He writes like this. We're not allowed to go to astrologists, ask them according to the astrology, according to the Teva Oilam, what should we do, what we shouldn't do. Because Tamim Tiyem Hashem Elokecha. However, says the Ramban, Aval imro ba'atzlikninus yoim she'en tov le'malachtoi. But you happen to know, like we know, the Chodesh Adar is a lucky month, and Av is not a lucky month for us. If you know something, if you already know certain things are known to you, or you happen to know this, he says, Nishmar mimena, you have to now protect yourself and don't be fooled to go against what so shows in astrology after you know it. Like we know Chodesh Av is not lucky, so don't be fooled to say, I'm going to do, I don't care if it is not lucky, I'll do Av. No. He says, the end soymech alanes. By going against the mazel, that's against the teva, we're not allowed to soymech alanes. If you know something, you don't go. Because also love neged amazolas v'lismech alanes. That's Lashon of the Ramban. It says, Kasoverani, you're not allowed to be soymech al mazol, on the nest and ignore the mazal. Meaning, we don't go and search the mazalas. How what? But if you know, we know that like I said, Oder is a lucky month, so you go with this. We know Av is not lucky, so you be careful with this. So over here also, since we know there is such a kishuv there, maybe not so much today, maybe people not in kishuv today, I don't know, but there was such a thing. The Yonasan ben Uziel at Adarabah, the Torah speaks about it, because there was such a thing. Memela, to say that we're doing something to prevent it, that's what exactly what the Ramban says. We don't go against the Teva, against the Mazolas. We don't go against if somebody could, so we could try to prevent it. So Memela, to say that the whole thing is shtus, I don't see why it's shtus. It's a big minhag, big makor. And furthermore, I don't understand, if l'shitos soy, that this is Bichlal Menachesh, which is, again, I didn't see a trace of this anywhere, that this is not to make knots and ties with the it's called Menachesh. It's over Isu the rice of Menachesh. So how come he told them, because your parents asking you to do it, but have in mind that shtusim, you could over and love the raisa to do what your parents want? If it's osur, it's osur. Elamai, this is absolutely minhag, holy minhag, and this is a minhag Yisrael. Minhag Yisrael, stam to mavatal somebody else minhagim. We have to look in Makoros and sources. Mebele, there's no problem. That's not minhag, and no nichush over here. With people, that's minhag Yisrael for two reasons. A, lisker yema misa, that's how the mace goes, and B, to prevent from kishufim.